Hi, I'm Mary Sirois, and I'm Managing Director with Nordic's Performance Improvement Practice. Nordic is a global healthcare consulting firm. Within the performance improvement space, my practice focuses on two major buckets of work. One around digital front door, access to care, scheduling, CRM integration, and the second on the optimization in the clinical care setting and moving into population health and value-based care. I'm a physical therapist by clinical background and have been in this progressive clinical transformation space for about the last 30 years. So digital health, I think it depends type of answer, and I think it depends on your perspective. I think if you think about a patient perspective, digital health might mean the use of home monitoring devices or wellness equipment or things like that within the home for chronic care or wellness management. From a clinician perspective, it can be used to improve your models of care, but it can also be used to inform with better data and create more models of evidence-based medicine or more evidence-based driven models of care. And then from the workforce perspective, it also incorporates the use of digital in all that you do. So digital health could actually come into play as you serve your patients on the revenue cycle side of things, or as you serve the clinicians on onboarding and becoming part of your staff. I think digital health is one of those terms that a lot of organizations are using as like a go grocery shopping. I might shop one way, you might shop another way. We've seen digital health be responsible for all IT, including infrastructure, analytics, informatics. We've seen digital health be used to define more in the innovation space and data science space. So yeah, I think, so to describe a successful implementation, so I think a lot of times organizations want to either apply digital to maybe a chronic care population or a high-risk population, and I encourage people to also look at it as a way of opening up, using digital to open up the human-centric side of things. So what humans do essentially very well is do this interaction and relate to each other. So we've seen an organization who actually was working to serve their Medicaid moms better, and so they took their low-risk Medicaid moms and had at-home Dopplers, and if the Doppler and the image came back okay, read by a clinician, then that particular prenatal visit could be done virtually. And then that opens up the very limited time on the physician's schedule for those high-risk moms that really do need to come into the clinic and spend time talking with the physician, the nurse, the nutritionist, etc. So I think that there's a lot of different ways to look at it. The key will be to define the use case and then commit to the use case so that you can kind of use it to measure, did you get the expected benefits? Did you get the outcomes from the patient perspective that you expected to get? And I think that the use cases and the stories are going to just evolve and it really continuous over time because of the prevalence in the market. We've got a market that's anywhere from $50 to $200 billion. We've got a 10% growth in that market. There's going to be all sorts of things that we try. Some will work, some won't. So interoperability is really key. The challenge is, in order to use digital health tools effectively and you bring the data back in, it's got to fit into an interoperable model to be able to share and use the data in a meaningful way. That will be key over time as you really move towards a patient-centered record. Having that interoperability, having the rules in place, being able to use that data, being able to apply new types of data. So we're seeing digital health tools that have to do with images. The patient might interact with images and show that their relationship with respect to some maybe behavioral health interventions. That's a new type of data to be used as evidence over time as well. So the interoperability will contribute to the ability to use that data in meaningful ways so that you can use it as evidence sooner than later further than it can be in publications. So barriers for adoption of telehealth and virtual care, first and foremost, is reimbursement models. So you always need to follow the money. COVID, again, brought very few good things, but it did bring the fact that these models of care became reimbursable, and hopefully they stick around and we can continue to evolve that. The issue is the data is not there to show that this adds value over time. So we need to continue to collect and share the data to show the value of virtual and telemed models of care. The other piece is getting patients. I think we forget about the patient in this loop. Patients need to learn to engage in a virtual way and find that that's an acceptable way of engaging, whether it's using it for telehealth just to receive care, whether it's remote monitoring in the home. Some people are open to having home monitoring, some people aren't. It's their personal preference from a privacy perspective. So that's something that needs to be kept in mind too. When you think about all of these products coming to market, 80% of these products are going to fail. And so it's hard to have something funded if it's going to fail. Go back to the interoperability question as well. What are you going to do with this if the product you've chosen, if the intervention that you've chosen does fail? How do you incorporate that data as future evidence in other care pathways or using other tools? So that'll be an important part as well. Leadership perspective, you got to get back to leading change. This is a change in behavior. It's a new way of interacting potentially with clinicians that you may not be familiar with, to have confidence that they have the clinical skills, the medical skills that you trust in providing direction, input to either you and or your patient as a clinician. I think the other thing is a lot of times these virtual care or digital health solutions are used as a pilot. And the pilot either succeeds or fails, but then if it succeeds, okay, how do you take it to the next level? It might succeed in a very little space. How do you use that same technology to apply to different types of patient populations? Again, most of these companies are going to fail. And so when you choose your horse, how do you continue to race that horse around the track and maybe apply the intervention to other types of disease processes if that's possible? So that's one of the big things with respect to leadership is you are leading change not only for your medical staff or your clinical staff, but also for your the community that you serve. I think from a near-term perspective, we've talked about the virtual care and telemed. That's one thing. You're just going to have more and more of these companies coming up. So the biggest opportunity is to quickly incorporate the data that you're using into your models of care and then share it with each other so that you can have these shared success stories, you can have these use cases. It's not about the technology, it's about the use case and what problem are you solving. Are you solving more timely access to care? Are you solving more efficient care? Are you solving safer care where you're maybe interacting with that patient earlier on in a deterioration process? And so if you think about quality from safe, timely, effective, efficient, equitable, and patient-centered care, as is defined by the Institute of Medicine, those are your opportunities. Take the pilot, spread it, and use it depending on whichever tool you've chosen. Okay, the value from AI, everybody talked about it at the conference for the last 2 days. AI is only effective if you have quality data. So we talked about the interoperability piece and the importance there. You have the quality of your data that you're using in your AI algorithms, and then you also have the output of it, making sure that it is ethical in how it's being applied, going back and revisiting your algorithms from time to time, thinking about AI is not replacing care. It's not replacing providers. It is basically, I heard it described as like a spell check. You know, if you're not going to have the computer read the image entirely and provide the diagnosis, but you might have the computer check the image after a resident has gone through and checked the image himself or herself to provide almost a spell check. You might have AI just augmenting it. It's that extra line of help, especially when you're looking at provider and clinical populations that are tremendously burned out. And you don't want to miss something. You don't want to miss an important piece of data because people's lives could depend on it.